Okay, let's talk about the Supreme Court. It's a mixed bag, folks. Some of it is okay, and some of it is not okay. I would say, I'm not going to say any of it's good because the way that things are looking, none of it looks great, folks. None of it. I mean, last week they were hearing on the question of birthright citizenship, but they weren't really questioning that because they know that if they argued that at this current moment to the Supreme Court, they would strike it down because birthright citizenship is literally in the 14th Amendment of the Constitution. If you were born on American soil, you are an American. Now, Donald Trump put out a post about that like last week saying something like, it was meant for slaves if you're a slave, but now it's people are coming over here on vacation and dropping a baby off. Fuck you, man. Fuck you. Nevertheless, the Supreme Court made a ruling on the American Enemies Act. They blocked Trump's move to use the Alien Enemies Act. It's 1798 Act that we only use in the time of war. And the last time we used it was a really dark time. And it was under my favorite president, which, is one of the things that I always criticize him for, was, the Japanese internment. So we were at literal war with Japan and Germany and the axis of evil of the time. And we locked up a shitload of Japanese people in internment camps. It was really dark. It's really fucking ugly. But we did it. And it was in the middle of wartime. And that was the justification for actually doing it. Well, we're not at war. Donald Trump says that we're at war with Trinidad and Aragua. All 300 of them. Supposedly there are 300 in this country. And we're at war with them. So, no, actually, we're at war with Venezuela because Venezuela sent them here. Which, by the way, there are about either 300 or 350,000 Venezuelan refugees on protective refugee status in this country due to the fact that we, as Donald Trump, Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi, everybody is saying that Maduro, who is the president of Venezuela, is a dictator. And that the reason why Venezuela is in complete disarray and turmoil is because Maduro is a terrible guy and he's a dictator. Now, whether you want to believe that or not, I'll leave that up to you. I don't think Maduro is a great guy, but I also don't think that he's a fucking dictator. And I also think that half of the reason why that Venezuela is in the shape that they're in is because we sanctioned the fuck out of Venezuela. Their largest export, pretty much their only export, is oil. They have one of the largest oil reserves on the planet. And, ironically, the two biggest countries that America, like the Holy Grail wants to invade is Iran and Venezuela. We're buddy-buddy with Saudi Arabia. I believe Iran has got the largest, Venezuela is second, and Saudi Arabia is third with the largest oil reserves. We're buddies with MBS over in Saudi Arabia, so we got access to all the oil that we want, and that's why Donald Trump is always kissing that guy's ass. But we don't have access to Venezuela, and it's been tried many, many times to either coup Venezuela or to make things so bad in the Venezuelan state that the people do an uprising. There was a moment where there's this guy named Juan Guaido who ran for president against Maduro. He ended up getting about 4% of the vote. And there was a 2 or 3 year period where Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and Donald Trump and just every politician from both sides of the aisle were saying, actually, he's the president. Dude is not the president, man. It doesn't matter what you say, he's not the president. Maduro is the president. Now, whether or not, some people say that he cheated, okay, maybe, possibly. But, do you have control over another sovereign country? The only thing that you can do is to do what America is doing, saying that he is an illegitimate president and we put sanctions on the country because Maduro will not let BP in. It will not let Exxon in, will not let, any oil company in to extract what they have. And ultimately, that is what we as, the American corporation want. We want Venezuela to give us their oil. So they say no, and we sanction the shit out of them, won't let them sell their oil to anybody. They've got their own deals that they work, but look, all of this is saying that the people who came to this country as refugees, whether it's 300 or 350,000, they came to this country under the auspice of they are living in a dictatorship and they came here for refuge, so we give them, special refugee status, meaning that they're not illegal immigrants, they're documented immigrants. They have documentation, they're here under protected status as refugees. So not illegal immigrants, actual legal immigrants. Well, so the Supreme Court blocked them. It was a 7-2 vote. Of course, it was Clarence Thomas, and Alito. Those were the two that voted, to give Donald Trump the power to do the Alien Enemies Act. But 7 justices told him no. So that's a good thing. And they kicked that decision back down to the 5th District in Louisiana. Now, 5th District is notoriously a very conservative district. It's one of the courts that is below the Supreme Court. You have regular courts, you have appellate courts, and then you have district courts, and then you have the Supreme Court. And we have 13 districts in this country, and the 5th District is the Louisiana, Texas kind of area, East Texas, Louisiana area, and they are very, very conservative. Well, that court, that very conservative court, said, no, you can't do the Alien Enemies Act. We are not at war with Venezuela. They did not send... they didn't say that Venezuela didn't send the Trinidad Araguans, all 300 of them. I keep saying 300 because that's the amount that we were told. There are 300 Trinidad Araguans in this country, but we have to be at war, and we have to kick out millions and millions of documented immigrants out of this country because, you never can tell which one is, we don't have to give them due process, so we can just say that they're all Trinidad Aragua. He's like, well, I'm from Colombia, or I'm from, the Yucatan Peninsula, or I'm from Mexico. No, Trinidad Aragua, or you're MS-13. And then we'll print a picture of you, and then we'll put fucking tattoos all of you that say MS-13. Anyway, that is the plus side of the Supreme Court. They said that Donald Trump cannot move forward at this point with the Alien Enemies Act. But what they did do is say that Donald Trump, they allowed him to be able to move forward with taking away protective status from those Venezuelans. So, in one hand, they're saying you can't invoke the Alien Enemies Act because we're not at war. But if you want to start rolling back the protection status for those Venezuelans and ship them back to Venezuela, then you can start doing that. And hearing that immediately, the first thing I think of is, hey, Ukrainians, you're next. Hey, Afghanis, the ones that helped us during the Afghanistan war, the ones that were translators for our American soldiers, the ones that risked their lives to help us out, that, they're brave people, that, all of the soldiers, like, these guys are brave. We need to protect them. We need to either bring some of them to this country or make sure they get out of Afghanistan, or they'll be hung. Because in Afghanistan right now, we moved out, Al-Qaeda moved back in. It was a paper tiger. All of the people that we put in Afghanistan leadership, they immediately left the country as soon as we stopped funding them. And, now it's back to being a totalitarian Muslim country that has, literally no rules, except for, the rulers that are running the place. And it ain't good. Women, all the rights that they would have had. Look, I'm not going to get into the Afghanistan thing, but those people, those Afghanis that helped us during the war, which we shouldn't have been in the fucking first place. Shouldn't have been in Iraq either, but whatever. Those people risked their lives. We should give them some protection. And some of them are here. Some of them are scattered all over the planet because we wanted to make sure that they didn't have to stay in Afghanistan and incur the wrath of what was going to come after we left and, left them high and dry. So now we can start rolling back those protections for Ukrainian refugees, Afghanistan refugees, and according to the Supreme Court, they have given Donald Trump carte blanche to start kicking out those Venezuelan refugees. So it's a mixed bag with the Supreme Court. Honestly, I think that a lot of this is kind of them trying to cover their ass as well. It's like, let's give Donald Trump a little win, and maybe he'll let us, have our win. Dude, you are compromising with fascism. And like I've said before, you cannot give them an inch. You give them an inch, they'll take a mile. You give them a little special dispensation. It's like, ooh, let's see what else I can get from you. That is how the fascism works. And they never do the thing that's going to help you. It's all about what they can get out of you. And if you continue to give them things, they will continue to expect more. Donald Trump is not the kind of person that's like, they gave me that one. So, I'm going to be nice and I'm going to respect what the court said. Do you really think that Donald Trump is going to respect what the court says? Hell, man, he's immediately flouting it right now. Just the whole, sending them to CCOT in El Salvador, the dungeon, that's flouting. He does not care what the Supreme Court says. So why even compromise with him? You should be hitting him a no on everything. You should be slapping everything back to the fucking boondocks. But no. The Supreme Court, I don't think they get it. Because I think what they're expecting is that they are going to be able to ride the fence, give Trump some, and then rule against him on some until the post-Trump era. And they'll be able to maintain their legitimacy. As far as I'm concerned, ever since Roberts told Donald Trump in 2024 that if the president thinks that it's an official presidential act, then it's not illegal. I think that was the moment that they lost credibility. Look, I think that they lost credibility ages ago. But that, to me, that was the one that put us over the edge. Because if you are letting the president know, here is your get out of jail free card, you think he's not going to play that card? Do you really think that? He's going to go, they told me I couldn't do that, but, I think it's presidential. And one of my favorite Trump quotes of his new term is, what did he say? It's, as long as the president's trying to save his country, he's not breaking any laws. It's not illegal. And, that day he gave the big speech that's not in a State of the Union address back in February, and he was about to walk out the door, and he shook John Roberts' hand, which, honestly, you're not really supposed to have the executive branch talking to the judicial branch. That's the whole separation of powers thing. Walks right up to him on camera, shakes John Roberts, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, shakes the man's hand and goes, "Thank you for everything you did for me. I won't forget it." That was the gift. That was the gift. You let Donald Trump have his win, and now he is going to run all over you, and there is absolutely nothing you're going to be able to do about it. And one of these days, it's going to get to a point where all of you say, no, you can't do it. And Donald Trump is going to go, you and what army? So here we are. Give a little, get a little. We ain't getting nowhere. We're getting fascism. So thanks, John Roberts. Good on you, Supreme Court. Woo! Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed what you saw, please like and subscribe. Keep rocking.